Ladies and gentlemen, my God, AEW was great last night on November 13th's Dynamite. But last night's NXT was off the fucking charts. They really put on a hell of a fucking show. And in my personal opinion, how I felt the show was compared to AEW, I think NXT was the better show. The feeling about the crowd was a lot more electric. The crowd was very much into the entire show for throughout most of its entirety. The matches were high pace, very good, entertaining shit. And I'll be honest with you guys, there's nothing about the show that I disliked. Nothing. There's not a thing that I disliked about the show. This was a very solid, entertaining, great episode that built a lot of intrigue towards War Games and Survivor Series all at the same time. Kudos to WWE on their builds, their building of these two pay-per-views at the same time. I think they're doing an outstanding job with what they're doing at this point. When it revolves around NXT, that is. Anything with WWE main roster is just garbage. So, let's get into things. This is WWE NXT November 13th, 2019 review. First thing right out of the gate, we get the NXT Cruiserweight title match with Angel Garza and Lio Rush. This was a fucking awesome way to start the show. It got the crowd very into this show immediately from the get-go. Lio Rush performed extremely well in this match, very similar to some of the other Cruiserweight matches he's had on NXT that I've seen, and I was highly entertained. I definitely enjoyed this matchup a lot. He wins the match by hitting the final hour and covers his opponent for a 1-2-3 pin to retain the title. And that was pretty much that. That was a awesome matchup. After the match, Garza immediately sits up and can't believe it. Rush takes the title and makes his exit as the music hits. We go to replays and Rush stands tall and raises the title on the stage. The camera cuts outside to the backstage area. We see Tegan Nox down, being checked on by officials, and Rhea Ripley is also down, and she's laid out. We go to commercial pretty much. So I'm just reading this off of Wrestling Incorporated about the results and just the complete order and any kind of other details that I might miss without, looking at these results and information. So back from break, Beth sends us a video package on how NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler has left a path of destruction on her way to Survivor Series. The announcers hyped tonight's ladder match between Io Shirai and Mia Yim. The next match after that is Exley, I can't pronounce this name. Xia Li versus Aliyah. This matchup was very short, to the point, and Aliyah actually gets kicked right in the fucking face with a roundhouse kick out of nowhere. Gets laid out, gets pinned 1, 2, 3, and she gets up and she is bleeding from the nose. She got a broken nose, which, by the way, Mia Yim later on has similar situation happen to her, which I'll get into. After the match, Lee stands tall as Bourne enters the ring to check on her, and a WWE doctor also enters the ring to tend to Aliyah. The announcers play up how tough Leah's kick are as we see blood coming out of Aliyah's nose. Nigel leads us to a video package on Killian Dane and Pete Dunne's match. We see Dane backstage warming up for the match still to come tonight. And then they go to commercial and blah, blah, blah. Alright, back from the break. Out comes Finn Balor to a pop. Balor plays to the cool heel as he marches to the ring, posing for the camera, pointing his guns twice. The music stops and Balor takes the mic, takes the mic to a mixed reaction. Baylor says, this is it. This is NXT now. What happened to this place? What happened to this business? This business I used to love. He used to be proud of this place, but now it's a joke. Baylor says Johnny Gargano was the heart of NXT. He was what all the hype was for. Baylor says he built this place, but then a bunch of little boys moved in, all crying on social media, looking for sympathy from everyone when they get hurt. Baylor says, don't get me started on Matt Riddle, who got dropped last week and hasn't been seen since. Baylor says he's begging for someone to step up in the ring with him. Riddle then suddenly enters the ring and attacks Baylor. This idea of having Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle was awesome. Whoever came up with this idea, switching it out for Johnny Gargano to give Finn Balor an opportunity to show up at War Games in a good rivalry matchup, this is it. Now, granted, Matt Riddle is actually the guy that was part of War Games as a third member, but now has been taken out completely with him facing Finn Balor, and they put Dominik Dijakovic as the third member, and they still have to get their fourth member added in. I think by the go-home show, that's when Tommaso Ciampa needs to reveal the fourth member of his team for War Games. And I think the guy that he should reveal is John Morrison. I think John Morrison is a great pick. It's a great opportunity to highlight him in such a great moment like that. And he would be a great asset to Tommaso Ciampa's team. So I think that would be the best pick for them to go with. It depends on what they go with at this point. I'm really intrigued on what they might go with, because whoever they pick might be totally different from what I'm saying. But I think John Morrison would be a great pick for them to go with at this point in time. He's the one that would give them the most, pretty much a big boost to their team, number one. Number two, it would give a lot of hype up to War Games for people to tune in. You could also throw John Morrison into the NXT Tag Team matchup for their Survivor Series matchup with the SmackDown and Raw roster. So that would be a great idea as well if they wanted to do that. So, Riddle unloads on Baylor as fans chant bro. Baylor fights out of the corner and takes the brawl to the floor. They go into the barrier and Riddle kicks Baylor over it into the crowd. Baylor retreats as Riddle takes the mic and taunts him for running. Riddle calls Baylor a little putz and says he's right here. The music hits and out comes the Undisputed Era, the NXT World Champion Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. They are focused as they surround the ring as Riddle stands in the center. Baylor looks on from near the stage. Cole warns Riddle as the Undisputed Era goes to enter the ring, but the music hits and out comes Tommaso Ciampa with Keith Lee. They join Riddle in the ring, and Cole asks them if they're stupid and saw what happened on SmackDown and Raw. Cole goes on about how they're the most dominant force in all of WWE. Lee doesn't give a damn. He invites them in the ring for a fight. Lee goes on about how the Undisputed Era stood toe-to-toe with the main event roster superstars. But Cole will face off with him now. So Strong yells at Lee and defends Cole, calling Lee an idiot and a big dummy. Fans boo as Strong goes on about Cole deserving a night off, since he had 2 weeks of non-stop competition in the WWE main roster. Strong volunteers to fight, and Lee says he's not that picky, and fans start chanting for Lee as the two sides face off. Several referees run down and get in between the two teams, and Lee and Strong get ready for the match. From that point, we have the matchup start. Keith Lee and Roderick Strong was a very solid, entertaining matchup. Very good way to have some, confrontation or give us a little taste of what to expect for War Games. These two guys did an outstanding job, in my opinion. Probably one of the better matches that I've seen of Keith Lee. I don't think it was better than Dominik Dijakovic matchup that he had, but it was pretty damn good. I have to give him a lot of credit. Roderick Strong was very good in this matchup. This was definitely well-deserving for a main event NXT show even, for what they provided here in this matchup. The match ends with Keith Lee hitting the big jackhammer slam, and Lee holds it and covers for the non-title win. And that was pretty much that. After the bell, the Undisputed Era attacks Lee, but Tommaso Ciampa makes the save, and the Undisputed Era gets the upper hand now. Dominik Dijakovic, as I mentioned earlier, comes down and starts dropping bodies. Dijakovic with a super kick to Cole and a double choke slam to the tag team champions. Dijakovic keeps fighting and takes Cole out again. Fans chant "Feast your eyes" as Dijakovic stands tall. Fans chant "War Games" as Dijakovic approaches Ciampa in the middle of the ring. They shake hands and he turns to leave and runs into Lee. They face off in the middle of the ring. Fans chant "Hug it out," but they shake hands instead. Ciampa is all for it. Ciampa, Lee, and Dijakovic stand tall in the ring together as the Undisputed Era watches from the stage. And then they go to the commercial break at that point. Back from the break, the announcers are talking when we cut backstage. Marina Shafir, Jasmine Duke, and Candice LeRae are laid out in the backstage area now, and Triple H orders security to tighten up and get to the bottom of what's happening. And that was pretty much that. Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Bronson Reed. Solid match. I really like Bronson Reed's in-ring work. I think it would have been entertaining to see something else than Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed has been, out of the people that were in that breakout tournament, he's been getting the most attention. Jordan Miles, who now is going back to his former name, ACH, has quit WWE, by the way, as a side note for news and rumors. He has requested his release. They gave it to him, and he's no longer part of WWE. That's very sad because he was very good, especially in that match with Adam Cole. I think he did an outstanding job with him, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. I don't know why they didn't take advantage of the talent that they had with him, because he has a lot to offer to this roster, especially NXT, and they just did not utilize him. I mean, after that World Championship match, he wasn't used at all, and that's pretty sad in itself. So I'm a little disappointed in NXT's creative, as well as Triple H, for not capitalizing on the talent they had in him. But this guy, Isaiah Scott, they're doing a great job with him. Bronson Reed is showing some promising skills in the ring against a lot of different opponents. I'm very impressed with him. I don't see him as a main eventer at any point in time in his career, but he's definitely a solid talent on this roster. So he's definitely useful, and he should be relevant throughout for a long time. This matchup in itself was a pretty solid, okay match. I didn't have any beef with it. It was a good filler for the show, and it highlighted both of their talent and their in-ring work. At the end of this matchup, Isaiah Scott picked up the victory. He's racking up wins. I mean, he would be a great person to just throw a wild card in Tommaso Ciampa's team and throw in Isaiah Scott. That would be a great idea. So him and John Morrison, I feel, just looking at this, would be probably their best bets to go with. But John Morrison would be a better person to go with than Isaiah Scott. He's just brand new. It's not really been highlighted as much. And John Morrison is an experienced veteran and a well-built name. So using him for this matchup in a main event situation, John Morrison would be your guy I think you should go with. We then go backstage. We have Kathy Kelly says that both locker rooms are on edge because of the mysterious attacks. She has breaking news from the office in the NXT general manager William Regal that Matt Riddle versus Finn Balor will take place at War Games, but Riddle will be replaced by Djokovic in the War Games match. There's no word on who will be the final member of Ciampa's team, and that was pretty much that. Pete Dunne and Killian Dane, their match did not even occur. This match was a full-out brawl. Damian Priest got involved. They never had an opportunity. Damian Priest attacked both Killian Dane and Pete Dunne, so you may see a triple threat match just thrown in there on the War Games pay-per-view for the sake of doing it because of the fact that it's a filler for this match card. There's not much on this card at all. There's only 3 matches. I think this triple threat rivalry match would be a good idea and it would make sense, especially now Damian Priest attacking Killian Dane and Pete Dunne all at the same time. He was on a fucking killer warpath and he kicked everybody's ass. That's pretty much all there was in that segment. So then finally the last situation. Oh wait, back from they went to a commercial break, and then they came back, and the announcers wonder who the final member of Tommaso team will be. Next week's show will feature Djokovic versus Adam Cole in a non-title match to determine the advantage in the men's War Games, which is going to be a ladder match again. That should be pretty interesting to see Djokovic against Adam Cole in a big match feel type of situation. Now, getting to the final match of this card, which to me, maybe outside of the NXT Cruiserweight Championship match, this ladder match between Mia Yim and Oi Shirai, fucking unbelievable. Really unbelievable. Backstepping here, going back to it, Aaliyah getting a bloody nose. Mia Yim had the same effect happen to her. In one spot, she was holding a ladder, looking like she's attempting to attack Shirai, and Shirai comes out of nowhere off the top rope and drop kicks her in the face with the ladder in front of her face. It cuts her forehead by the bridge of her nose, and she bleeds like a faucet in the middle of that ring. And holy shit, there was blood dripping all over the mat. I mean, if they didn't have a black mat in the middle of the ring and it was like what it is on the main roster, you would have been fucking seeing a ton of blood all over the fucking ring. It would have looked like old school wrestling from back in the day when we were kids. If you're in your 30s or early to late 20s or even your late 30s and so on and so forth, you would know what it's like to watch the Attitude Era or even the Ruthless Aggression Era when they had blood a lot used in these matches. And that's what happened here, only this wasn't a blade job. This was an accident that was made to happen. Well, not made to happen, but it actually happened. And it was brutal. The ending of this matchup really blew me away when they took Mia Yim from the top of the ladder. Shirai took her and dropped her ass from the top of the ladder, pushed the ladder forward, and Kaylee Ray also got involved, who's the NXT UK Women's Champion. Gets involved in this, causes Mia Yim to get distracted, and then she gets shoved off the fucking top of the ladder through another ladder that was propped up on the outside from the barricade to the ring, and she falls right through the damn thing onto the floor. She got hurt extremely bad. She was roughed up, and I don't know if she sustained injury, but I'll tell you what, she ain't feeling fucking good today. I'll tell you one thing, she woke up sore as a motherfucker this morning. kudos to Mia Yim. She took some serious bumps in this matchup, and she was great. She was outstanding. Oi Shirai, she was good in this matchup as well. She picks up the victory for her team. So Shayna Baszler's team actually has the advantage going into War Games, and that's basically the situation here. After the match was over, we had let me see here. Basically, at that point, Bianca Belair got down there. Oi Shirai standing there, tall on the ladder, holding the briefcase, and Kaylee Ray is actually holding her UK Championship up in the air. Team Baszler has the advantage at War Games now. Bianca Belair is in the ring now, standing with the ladder as Shirai stands tall with the ladder, with the briefcase up top, and Ray's still standing with the ladder. The music hits, and out comes NXT Women's Champion Baszler now. She waves at Ray and then applauds them. It looks like Ray on the team of Team Baszler. Whatever. Then Bayley comes out of nowhere and runs out and nails Baszler in the back with a steel chair shot, and Bayley drops Baszler on her face on the stage. Belair, Shirai, and Ray chase Bayley off and go back to check on Baszler as the NXT goes off the air. And that's how all that ended. Awesome way to highlight Bayley, to make her seem cool as fuck. She attacked the entire fucking NXT roster, kicked their ass for the women's division, and then attacked their women's champion of their roster and brand. I love it. That really highlighted Bayley looking fucking badass as shit, making her important, not a weak link. So they've made all three women, both Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Shayna Baszler, look like fucking badasses here in the last week or two at this point. I think with the touch of NXT being part of the WWE roster brings out a somewhat better show out of them. That's really how I feel. I think NXT being mixed in with Raw and SmackDown here and there once in a while, not all the time, but like how they're doing it right now, would be really cool in my mind. I honestly feel like NXT should have their takeover shows not during the weekends of these major pay-per-views like Survivor Series, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Royal Rumble. I think they should be part of those pay-per-views because they could bring out more importance and hype people up even more to want to go see it. If you're using Triple H and allowing him and his creative team to do their thing, not run anything, not tell him what to do or critique or change anything that he does on NXT, he will be a great asset to their major pay-per-views. You could put takeovers on like the minor pay-per-views that aren't all that important, people don't give a fuck to go see, and that would be my way of being happy to see them doing their own thing and not always being mixed up with the main roster. So I think at the Royal Rumble, we should see 10 Raw guys, 10 SmackDown, and 10 NXT guys. And hell, if you really want to, fucking throw it out there and make the winner of the Royal Rumble be an NXT guy. Because NXT is the only show that has made their characters seem important or awesome to watch. And they do a great job at what they do. So I think it would be great to see an NXT World Championship as the main event of WrestleMania. I think that would be fucking great. You get to see, you could see Adam Cole in the main event of fucking WrestleMania 36 in front of 80,000 people, possibly. That would be fucking great. I really think that would be an awesome idea. I don't know what you guys think about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Leave a comment down below. I'll get back to you on that. I definitely like to hear from you guys if you have anything to say to me about this, I hope you guys respond to this comment, because I think it's a great thing to talk about, especially on this review and my, idea of what they could do with the NXT, especially with the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania coming up. So leave a comment down below. I'll get back to you on that. Hit the like button if you like this video, and hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel. And I thank you very much for watching. Have a great night, guys. Bye.